Okay. So, Shiva, can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Great, thank you. So, module 4 we started yesterday. Actually, there was some technical glitch yesterday. I think it's not for your section, but it's for other section. But later, line last 5 minutes for other section, my audio was disconnected. The team also got the MS Teams got closed. Okay, in the last 5 minutes of the other class. So actually, that I could not realize. Generally, that alert will come to me while I'm writing, but somehow it did not come. So if that happened because of network issues, please let me know. I think many of you know my personal number. Even though my phone will be on silent, at least put a WhatsApp message immediately that you are not audible or etc. Or you call me in the Teams itself. I don't know why it happened. It never happened. I'm just telling in case if it happened, you can take the corrective action and inform me. Okay, fine. So yeah, in the module 4, in the last class, we have seen about RNN, recurrent neural network. This is a beautiful concept, Nana. Beautiful concept. You'll never imagine the applications that are being used or RNN is now very extensive across many applications, and some of them I already told: sentiment analysis or your like parts of speech tagging. All these are very basic things. It's not now when RNN has been introduced. It was there at that time. But for example, if I want to do image captioning or video captioning, if I want to generate image captioning or video captioning, or if I want to do any kind of textual task, so RNN is extremely useful. Okay, so RNN can be used in any context where you find that there is dependency of every input. That means if I get an output based on some inputs, maybe this is word 1, word 2, word 3, and I want some output, and you feel that this output is not only dependent on word 3, it also depends on word 2, it also depends on word 3. When you have these dependencies, you can use RNN. Okay, fine. Even your Gmail automatic sentence filling, automatic code filling, even your C program, Python program, when you type, the next logic can be even automatic. Of course, it's not so perfect like English, because we write the logic in a number of ways, but at least it can be done. Okay, so whenever you see dependencies like nav, you can definitely use RNN and ensure that you get better output. Now, the question that we stopped in the last classes, you have three problems. You have actually three problems if I want to implement this, because we are going for we are going for RNN because there are certain problems in CNN and DNN. There are certain problems in CNN and DNN. So whatever the situation that I told just now cannot be done by CNN/DNN. Why? What are the problems? For example, yesterday example we have taken some input layer, some set of hidden layers, some output layer. Similarly, layer, hidden layer, and this one. Okay. Now let me just give an input P. Maybe I get an output E, and I supply that output as E, and I get En. So that means I'm trying to write a word called pen. Now, the problems that you'll encounter, assume that this is an independent deep neural network, DNN1, and this is another independent deep neural network, DNN2. Now, what is the problem with these networks? You're just passing out the output to this. But as I told yesterday, you should not pass output that will not fetch anything to the next architecture. You should find out what this architecture learned to predict this E. What is its understanding? I have to pass that understanding to the next architecture. Then this architecture should pass its understanding and this guy understanding to the next architecture. So it's like a chain. I need to establish that knowledge transfer across all the networks. KT, this is a common word that you hear in the companies also called KT, knowledge transfer. Whenever you're leaving the organization or when somebody joins under you, so you have to do KT, okay, knowledge transfer. So that knowledge transfer has to be done. So from this to this, from this to this, from this to this, it has to be done. But can I do with DNN architectures individually? No. I should somehow provide connection. I should somehow provide connections between them so that the understanding of the architecture A1 will be passed to A2 and A2 understanding will be passed to A3, etc., 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 etc. But do I have that sort of connections in DNN by default? No. In traditional DNNs, we don't have that connections. That is the first problem. Problem number 1. How do I connect these two architectures? Or for that matter, N architectures, whatever. Okay. Now the second problem is I have a textual input. How do I supply the textual input to my architecture? I also have a textual output or a character output or a string output, whatever you call. How do I represent that? How do I actually represent that output in a DNN? Because in DNN till now we are looking into numerical inputs and numerical outputs. But now I'm just telling how can I have the representation of these characters or strings as input and output. So these are the three problems. Let us see these three problems one by one. Let us build out the entire sequence and how PP came up with the solutions. These are the problems that they faced. First of all, you should understand the motivation, guys. That is extremely important because I'm taking you to the back where people have this problem. Okay, so they initially introduced CNN and CNN is extremely performing well on images, on videos, but later they want to extend their applications to text data. But text data, they tried with CNN or DNN for the text data. They tried the text data with the DNN and CNN, but they could not get the expected results. There are certain problems if they're applied. First, let us understand that. Of course, I told these problems. Let us dig deep into this. What happens if I implement text-based tasks? Text-based task with traditional DNN. That we will see. That's an interesting answers will be there, and we'll slowly derive. We'll reach to that point. Okay. Text-based task based on DNN or CNN. Maybe I'll take DNN for this case. Maybe the same thing, right? Because I was researchers are successful in doing the predictions for images and doing the predictions for videos. Now the next thing is text data. Now they don't know what is RNN. They know what is DNN and CNN. Now let us see for textual applications. If I solve DNN, what are the problems? We'll see that with an example. Let us take some inputs now. Some x1, x2, x3, x4, so and so till xn. Now, what is the first problem? You have to pass text, right? But how do you pass text? It can be letter, it can be word. How do you pass the text? That means I stuck at the first problem itself. Leave about the hidden layer, leave about the output layer of my DNN architecture. I was stuck at the input layer. How do I pass this textual input to the input layer. It's very, very simple. The solution is extremely simple. I think all of you know about OHE, one hot encoding. They just represented the input in one hot encoded form. That's all. For example, if my input is a character, every time input for the network is character, then the OHE will be having 26 possible. For example, my input for this is B. Okay, then it would be 0, 1, and rest of them will be zeros. So this would be given as input to this, where you will have 26 neurons, such neurons. Is it clear? Very, very simple solution. Very, very simple solution. You have 26 such neurons, and you pass this here. So the input for this is 0, then input for, okay, I think I'll write with another color. Then input for this is 0, then input for this is 1, then input for this is 0, like that. The corresponding inputs. And you these are neurons, no, they're not zeros. These are neurons. Okay, fine. But if I do like this, because the input is character, the output also will be one of the 26 characters. Okay, this would be easy for characters. Now let us take the other input, where the input is word. How many words we have in English? Assume that there are more than 10,000. There are more than 10,000. Then what happens to your OHE? Every word will be assigned with a number. For example, A, 1, and 2, THE, 3. Then you try another, see all single letter words, 2 letters, 3 letters, 4 letters, 5 letter word, 6 letter word, 7 letter word, 8 letter word, 9 letter, like that. You'll have like thousands of words. For every word, you'll assign some number. Then what will be the one hot encoded representation for this? Assume that the total number of words are around 10,000. Then what happens? Your one hot encoded will have 10,000 values. For example, A is 1. 1 will be there. Rest of them will be all zeros. What about AND? 0, and the second one would be 1, and rest of them will be all zeros. You'll have till 10,000. Okay. This is the other representation of OHE. But what is the problem here? What is the problem? I think you can guess the problem. The problem is the length of OHE is extremely very high. Yes or no? OHE length is extremely very high, 10,000. And this all elements are sparse. All these are zeros. So only one place you have non-sparse. Now actually this is an interview question, Nana. It's not a deep learning question. It's actually a data structure question. So if you have a vector in this sparse form, how do you efficiently store these sparse vectors in your memory? This is a very common interview question. Can anybody tell me? Take the example. Say sparsity can be like at various levels. Take the highest sparsity, that is, assume that OHE sparsity. So now for a OHE represented vector, how do you efficiently store in memory? Any answers? Any solutions? Just think, Nana. I think you can guess the solution very easily. It's a common sense question. There's no complexity involved in it. See, we're trying to build out, or we're getting strong motivation on why we should not use DNN or CNN for textual applications. The first problem is, how do I pass text input to DNN? The answer is OHE. OHE, if you have like small possible OHE length, then it is fine. You can pass as OHE. But if I have huge length of OHE, that means 10,000 words or 20,000 words or 25,000 of words in your data set, then representation would be so sparse, and representing this sparse data would be heavily memory consuming. Then how do you ensure that you represent that in a very effective way? Can you just tell me the solution? Strange. Are you there, guys, or not there? This is the problem. Okay, people are listening, but no response. Fine, I don't want to point out anybody and just ask and make you feel uncomfortable. So if you don't know the answer, or even though you know and you're not telling or you're not listening, it's up to you. No? But it's my responsibility to make you think. At least if one of you at least thought of something, whether you get the solution or not, I would be very happy. Fine. The solution is very, very simple. Actually, in the deep learning frameworks, what they do is, even though you have 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 sparse vectors, they store only few details. What are those few details? They store your index number. Simple. Index number where 1 is there. For example, here the index number is 0. They store only 0. That means they know that at 0th location, you have corresponding 1 and rest of them are zeros. Okay, and here the index number will be 1. At 1 only they have non-zero value and rest of the values will be 0. So it's very, very simple. So they coded like this and passed a representation like this. Instead of storing all this representation, if they store this and randomly generate, not randomly, at that whenever you want to pass this input, they just look into the 0 and generate the OHE and pass it, and like delete that OHE once it was passed to the network. That's all. It's very, very efficient. Okay, so this is, so our problem is solved irrespective of OHE length. I'm able to store it efficiently by just looking at the index. So now I don't have any issue whether it's a small network or a big network. I'm just passing OHE. Okay. Now this neurons will be multiplied with some weights in DNN. I'm just talking about DNN. And weight matrix, I'll have hidden layers. Maybe for the sake of simplicity, I'm just taking only one layer. Okay. And then this will be multiplied with other set of weights, W1, W2. And finally, I'll have an output layer. So as we have taken a classical example of like word prediction, maybe assume that P, okay, I'm just getting E. Now you have to represent P in OHE form, that you know. And what about E? The second problem is, how do I represent the E, which is also a character, as output? It's also same answer. You can again represent OHE form, but the only difference is here we'll have like this: 0.1, 0, 0.2, 0, some 0. Maybe again 0. So, and maybe here you have 0.5, maybe some 0.000 something like that. Okay, like this you'll have the softmax distribution for 26 characters. And the one here, if you observe, the one with the highest probability is 0.5, and this 0.5 belongs to, this is A, this belongs to A, B, C, D. This one ignore. This is E. Okay, that means I can predict that highest softmax probability is given for E, and I'll say it is E. Then that E will be passed in OHE form to the next architecture. Okay, but the problem is, I already told the third problem. First two problems we solved: passing the input and representing the output in OHE form. That's fine. The answer is too simple. But what about passing the understanding to the next architecture? That is very, very important. Where the understanding lies. Does it lie in the output layer, or does it lie in the hidden layer? All those things we will see. But before that, we have to come up with some equations, right? I already told we have to pass. First problem is solved, Nana. This first problem is solved. Second problem is also solved. Perfect. Now we are going for the third problem, which is how do I pass my understanding to the next layer. So maybe I have again input neurons, and where I pass E in OHE form, because I assume that my word is pen. Again, I'll have some weights. And finally I'll predict N, and this is also will be in OHE form. OHE is distribution form, in probability distribution form. That's all. Okay. Now, before I connect this network to this network, first of all, let us understand this network, because if I want to know how do I connect, I want to know how to connect A1 architecture and A2 architecture, I should know more about A1. Already we know it because it's basically DNN with one hidden layer. Actually, here I've represented one hidden layer, but it can be a set of hidden layers. Now let us first spend some time, Nana, because I want to derive the equations for this. Then we will try to connect both these architectures. You already know the equations. What are the equations? Okay, let me change the color. Yeah. Now, what is the equation for above thing? It is Hi or H1, because you have only one hidden layer, but I'm generalizing it. Hi is equal to sigmoid of W1 Xi plus B1. Is it clear? Because this is Hi or H1, I'm just multiplying W1 with Xi inputs and adding the bias. And obviously, I will not explicitly mention that you have to apply activation function. Without applying activation function, you cannot perform any DNN operation or any CNN operation. Even in, do remember, Nana, even in CNN architectures, I did not explicitly mention many times about the activation function. I have told initially, where is activation function? Without activation function, you cannot have DNN architecture or CNN architecture. Please remember, nobody will tell you explicitly. It is by default there. Okay, here also, I did not show you that, generally we used to have two layers, right? Generally what happens, A1, H1. That's an aggregation, then followed by activation applied to aggregation, then you'll get H1. But directly I'm representing this H1 as aggregation, and you're just applying activation. Just single formula I'm just trying to write. Is it clear, guys? I represented, this is aggregation, and just applied sigmoid or some activation function to this, and finally I'm calling it as Hi. This is the same representation in our DNN architecture. Same, there's no change at all. Okay. Now, after this Hi, this is my Hi. Then what happens? I'll multiply Hi with W2. I'll multiply Hi with W2. Then I'll again get aggregation A2, and finally I'll get H2. This H2 is nothing but Y2. This Y2 is nothing but softmax. Softmax activation. I'll apply some activation to this A2. Generally, this is output layer. So output layer, I want probability distribution. I'm just applying softmax. I need to apply softmax to A2. So instead of again using A2 H2, let me call directly H2. We call directly H2. Since H2 is the last layer is generally called as Y. So Y is equal to H2. Since I'm generalizing here Hi and like this, so you don't need to worry about the specific part. Let us call Yi, because I want to mention it H1 or H2 or H3 like this. Let us be generalized. It's called Yi. Y is always the representation for output. Now, how do I get Yi? How do I get Yi? Yi is equal to, first of all, I need to multiply with W2 into Hi, W2 into Hi plus B2. And for this, what I have to take? I have to take again activation function. Which activation function? Obviously, softmax activation function or a sigmoid activation function, depends. But O stands for output activation function. That's all. It can be softmax, it can be sigmoid. Okay. So these are the equations that we learned in DNN. Why I have to repeat that again? Because we are trying to construct RNN from DNNs. But before we construct, we are seeing what are the problems if I directly use DNN for my RNN applications in the form of text. So slowly, till now I did not tell you the RNN architecture. No. I only told one thing: RNN can be used for text. DNN cannot be used for text. DNN cannot be used for text where there is dependencies. Where there are dependencies. Now you get a question: why, sir? Why should I not apply? Why should I not apply DNN even for these cases? For that I'm just trying to prove. Okay, do not get confused. I'm trying to prove that why DNN cannot be used for textual based application where there are dependencies between the letters or the words to finally give the output. Okay. Okay. Now let us rewrite these equations. What I do is, let me call Hi as Si. This is a common notation. There's no proper reason why they changed this notation. They changed Hi to Si because they're calling as state. Of course, hidden layer is also a state, but they represented this letter notation changed. Only notation changed. The logic doesn't change. So Si and sigma, and they changed this W also to U. W1 was now changed to U. W1 was now changed to U. Okay. So again, this is only notation change, letter change. That's all. Nothing was getting changed. U, and then what you have? Xi, then followed by B. Then you have same Yi is equal to O, and then they changed W2 to V. They changed W2 to V, and since Hi was changed to Si here it will be V into Si plus B. Okay, so now what are the changes that you have? W1 was changed to U, W2 was changed to V, and Hi was changed to Si. That's the reason you have Si here. Is it clear, guys? Just only notation change. Only the letter representation was different. That's all. Because people who have come up with these RNN architectures started using this letter. So later Pappas also started using these letter notations. That's all. Okay. Logical wise, there is no change. Okay. Now, what I have to do is, I have to use multiple architectures. Yes or no? This is one architecture. This is another architecture. I'll have another architecture A3, A4, A5, A6, A7, A10, 20, 30, 40. Each architecture itself having a lot of hidden layers, and each architecture will have its own set of weights. Right? Then earlier you remember, guys, in DNN, a single DNN itself is generating a lot of connections and a lot of weights. And if you have a lot of those, and definitely it will lead to overfitting, and I will not get better result in the test or during evaluation of test data, which I don't expect, I don't want. So now you have searched DNNs in n number of times. You have searched DNNs in n number of times. Then how do I actually solve this problem? Leave about connections. How do I connect this? That's a secondary story. Before I connect, in my mind, I thought, Arey Baba, we are using n number of DNNs. Leave about connecting this architecture 1, architecture 2, architecture 3 using some means. First of all, my weights are extensively increasing in each architecture. I have 100 of these architectures, then I can imagine the number of weights. If these many weights are there, then I would be stuck at some overfitting. Okay. So first let us see that, then we'll see the connections. So now the solution that they came up with is, they came up with a concept of weight sharing. Okay, you can have 100 architectures or 1000 architectures or 10,000 architectures. They don't bother because they want to share the weights from architecture 1 to the architecture 2 and architecture 2 to architecture 3, so that the weights are not different. The weights are getting updated as you are moving towards the output. The same set of weights. That means this same W1 will be used here and the same W2 will be used here. Same in the sense, not exactly the same, but the updated, because in this architecture, your weights will get updated, right? After get they updated, that updated weights will be sent to W1 and W2, the next layer. Okay, so that means as and when we go towards the output, the weights are slowly getting stabilized. The weights are slowly getting stabilized, and these weights have an integrated knowledge of the architecture 1 and as well as the architecture 2, because it is balancing both the losses. So single line, what is the main theme? They want to share the weights between the architectures. Okay, so now how do I prove that particular these particular equations can do weight sharing? Can I say that these two equations can achieve weight sharing? Let us see that. Actually, I don't need to draw again. Actually, it's simple, because I'll tell you why it's so simple. I'm just erasing these particular equations and I'm just taking these equations, only these equations. Just copy it here and just take this above. Yeah. Now see, Nano. Okay. Now assume that these are the equations for architecture 1. Do you have any issue? Architecture 1. Now that means I'll change it these layers like this. This would be U. This would be V. So that means U. Sorry. So this is U. This is V. And this is HI. And this is YI. So all those U, V. Instead of HI, I have to consider it as SI. So now everything was same, right? SI. Okay. So U into XI, because this is my XI. So U into XI. U into XI plus B is given as is stored in SI. Then SI multiplied with V and applied with some output activation, I get YI. So these are the equations, two equations for architecture 1. Then what about architecture 2? Can I have same equations, exactly same equations? Let us see that. Okay. Now I'm just labeling this as U. I'm just labeling this as V. I'm just labeling this as yes. Of course, this is S1. Maybe this is S2. Okay. So, and this would be Y2. Maybe this is Y1. This is Y2. Okay, that index will change. But will the equations change? No. For this also, the same equation holds, where we are trying to multiply with U with X. Here also U with X. Then you're multiplying S with V, S with V, and finally getting Y. That means I am able to reuse the equations of my first architecture to the second architecture. If I'm able to use the weights, so use the equations, that means I'm able to use or reuse the weights U, V in the next architecture. That's what I labeled, right? Here UV, here also UV. That means this U and V gets updated while they're getting trained, and that updated weights will be sent to this other architecture. That means the same equations hold here. Okay, is it clear, guys? Any questions on this? See, I'm slowly trying to build out, and I know that I'm moving slow, but once you understand the basics only, you can get clarity. I'm telling Nana, based on this logic, like you remember in CNN, based on convolution operation, we completely taken the concepts of all the architectures. Similarly, based on these equations, your entire module for depends on a lot of variants, RNN variants. It's not single RNN like we have CNN architectures, we have RNN architectures also. That RNN architectures are based completely on these equations that we are trying to build out. If you don't have clarity on this, then you're gone. Okay, the first thing is slowly I'm trying to derive the thought process that they have gone through at that time. Okay, so now first thing is, okay, what is the problem I solved now? I already told. We have multiple DNNs. I have to use multiple DNNs, and the output of this is given as input to this, and the output of this should be given as input to this. But the problem is, as multiple DNNs are increasing for your text dependent application, then the weights are also increasing. As DNNs, number of DNNs are increasing, the weights are also increasing. I don't want that. I don't want that. So I come up with a concept of weight sharing. That means if I'm using weights U and V here, let me use U and V here. Let me use U and V here. The updated U and V. That's very important. Okay. Now, how do I represent this? See, telling this is very fine. That means if I want to represent that in a coding form or in a mathematical form, very, very simple is whatever the equations that I have for this DNN, I should use the same equations even to this. Same equations to this. Why I have to use same equations? Because if I use same equations, the same weights are passed to the next architecture, to the next architecture, to the next architecture after the gradient descent. Okay, so I solved the problem of number of weights, because even though there are number of architectures, I'm not using that many weights because I'm sharing the weights. Point number one. But what is the problem with these architectures? Okay, weight sharing is fine, but what is the problem with this equations or with this idea? I already told. Assume that. I just erase this, guys. I already have given some examples to you. If this is some x1 input and this is output y1 and this x2, y2, some x3 word and y3. I already told in the context of parts of speech or in the context of predicting the next letter or next word. If I am getting y3, if my network is predicting y3, it will not predict based on x3 only. It will not predict y3 based on x3. It will predict y3 based on y2. Y2 depends on x2. Again, x2 depends on y1 because the same y1 is given as input. Again, this is depends on x1. Okay, so if you want to be very, very precise, okay, I think this is fine. It's fine. Okay, is it clear, guys? Again, I'm telling, if I'm predicting y3 in my last architecture, that depends on x3. That depends on x3, and this x3 input was dependent on y2, then x2, then y1, then x1. If I want to tell you an example here, instead of giving y1, y2, y3, I already told multiple times, but I'm just reiterating it. Instead of x1, x2, x3, let's take the same example that we just started with the class. So for example, B, I am predicting O, then I'm passing O here, then I'm getting O here, then I'm passing O here, and finally getting K. That means my system is predicting auto filling the word book, auto filling the word book, B-O-O-O-O-K. That means if I want to predict K, that does not depend on this O. It depends on the previous O. And if I'm predicting this O, it does not depend on this O. It depends on this O. If I want to predict this O, it does not depend on that O alone. It depends on the input. That means the current output depends on all previous inputs. The current output K depends on O, depends on B. If the user is, if the user is also typing with the way that I am predicting, that's fine. Otherwise, I look at the pattern of his type. After he's typing BOO, he's typing some other word, then I accordingly go in that direction. If he's moving according to my direction, then I'll move in that direction. But whatever may be the direction, current output depends on previous inputs. Now the question is, should the current output depends on all previous inputs? Definitely there will be dependency, whether all previous inputs or some previous inputs, that we have to see. Maybe in this case, all inputs are important because I have to predict the output based on the previous letters, because I need to form a reasonable word out of it. For example, instead of this, if I want to predict the parts of speech, instead of this, I want to predict the parts of speech. For example, I don't know whether again, okay, should I tell you that much? Okay, fine. So if I'm doing parts of speech prediction, okay, so I'm passing, he is good. The sentence is, he is good. Now I'm just trying to get parts of speech here, some P1. Again, I'm getting that as a helping verb. This is helping verb. Then getting parts of speech. Again, getting parts of speech, some P3. Now this P3, there's no guarantee that, there's no mandate that it should always dependent on he and is. That means in certain applications, there's no mandate that it depends on all possible previous inputs, but at least few of them, it depends. If there's no dependency, why to go for this RNN? If they're completely independent, then why you have to take RNN? You can take individual DNN and do predictions, no? As simple as that. Since we have dependencies, whether it's fully dependency or partial dependencies, we need to go for RNN. Okay. So now, okay, you understood that. Perfect. Now the question is, if you know this, if you know that the current output depends on previous inputs, either some or all previous inputs, are the equations that I have are satisfying that constraint? You are sharing U and V, perfect, but are you trying to add that inputs to these architectures? That means, see Nana, what you are doing here, you are passing the previous output. You are passing the previous output here, Nana. You are passing only the previous output. What about the previous input? Are you passing B also? You should pass. Now what should you pass here? If it has to predict, if it has to, because system doesn't know the previous input. You are only passing output O, previous architecture output O. Based on O, how it can predict the next O? That means instead of O, what you have to pass? You have to pass two letters, D, O. Then it can predict O. Then here you need to pass B double O. Then it can predict K. Is it clear, guys? But are we passing like that? Are we passing like that here? No, we are not passing at all. We are not at all passing. Why? Because why I'm saying like that? Because we have only single X. But here this is B is X1, O is X2. Here X1, X2, X3. But here you only have single X. Whether it can be X1 or X2, X3, you have only single input. That means the current output SI, the current output SI here, the current output SI depends on only current input. The current state Si depends on current input Xi. It will not depend on Xi minus 1, Xi minus 2, which I don't want. Is it clear, guys? That means these equations are not absolutely correct. Slowly you understood? The equations that we have, for DNN are not exactly right. Okay, somehow we need to change them to a little bit. Okay, so that is one other thing. How do we change? We'll see that. Okay, so first we need to understand the DNN equations cannot be used for RNN because of these dependencies were not modeled by the DNN equations. Is it clear, guys? Is it clear? It should not be confusing to you. See, Nana, I can directly tell the RNN. See, single line or saying 5 minutes, I can directly tell you the RNN equations. Single window of 5 to 10 minutes, I can tell you the RNN equations and say that these are the RNN equations. But I'm not telling that. See, as a researcher, as a programmer or a developer, you should have that thought process. You should know how researchers or the doctorates or the scientists have thought and came up with the thought process. That thought process we're trying to construct. If you're directly telling it, how do you know that? How do they think when they're coming up with an architectures, when they are solving the problems? That is what I'm slowly telling, what they have thought. Okay, so always whenever we are trying to learn a new topic, RNN or any new topic, first of all, we should get convinced that the existing topics cannot solve certain tasks that are solved by RNN. Now we have taken example of DNN and we've taken the equations of DNN, and the equations of DNN cannot actually solve the purpose of RNN. That means that these dependencies. Take the same example. Do not think, sir, you did not tell RNN till now, sir. You are just telling the examples. Okay, you just take the example of word autocomplete. Just take the example of word autocomplete. For the application of word autocomplete, can you use DNN? No. Why? Because in DNN, every output depends on its input only. It will not depend on previous inputs. But I want my current DNN output to be dependent on all previous inputs or at least few previous inputs. But am I able to represent that in the equations? Not at all. Not at all. Is it clear, guys? Is it clear? Please, Nana, somebody respond. Is it clear? Anybody? Hello. Are you there or not there, Nana? Google, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Is it clear?
So somewhat. I will go through it again, sir.
Okay, okay, fine. So yesterday class you are there, Gokul?
Yes, sir. I was there. Like it was glitchy from my side, network.
Okay, okay, that's the reason. Okay, okay, fine, fine. So Anushri, can you come into picture?
Yes, sir.
Is it clear, Nana?
Yes, I could understand.
Yes, very, very simple point, Nana. Only thing is, okay, can mute. Very, very simple point is when I am trying to solve the word autocomplete. Only let us take this example. Word autocomplete. Can I solve this word autocomplete using DNN? Now, I cannot pass the complete word because take the word of book. Because in my WhatsApp, when I'm typing B, I'm automatically getting 3 other letters. I'm able to fill it. I'm able to select that recommendation. That means I need to pass B first. This is my input layer. This is my hidden layer. This is my output layer. Okay, input layer, hidden layer, and output layer. Now I will get prediction. Oh, assume that. Obviously, with single letter, you cannot exactly get O always because with starting with B, you'll have a lot of words. Okay, only for demonstration, I'm telling. Okay, so again, in the second architecture, I will pass the previous output. I will pass the previous output, hidden layer and output layer. Nana, see, one thing you need to remember. Here, I do not have any connections between this architecture and this architecture. That means system knows that you are passing O. Then what system thinks? What are the words that are starting with O? Orange, maybe it starts predicting R, or maybe something else starting with O. Something starting with O. That means, do you think that I'm asking system to come up with a word which starts with O? No. I want my system to predict the next letter after BO. After BO, not O. That means what should I do? I should pass along with O, I should pass B also. My input is BO. Then instead of some other thing, it maybe it will be very close to the output B double O. Now in the third case, I will pass B double O. Then my output would be he. But in the DNN equations, always will have one input. But here I have two inputs, x1, x2. Here I have three inputs. Here I have three inputs. This dynamic number of inputs you never pass. You never pass in your DNN. You remember our multi-layer perceptron or your DNN architectures that you have studied. You'll have constant number of neurons. If there are 10 neurons, then it will be 10 only. But now, what is x1? It's B. B is represented in the form of OHE. This is 10. Assume that each letter is represented in a 26 vector OHE. So this is 26 length. This O is again 26th length. Now, totally you will have definitely more than required fixed length. Generally, you will have 26 neurons only in the input layer. You will have only 26 neurons. But now, in the second architecture of DNN, you should have 52. And in third architecture, it is 26 plus 26 plus 26. Then you should have another architecture. See, you can come up with your own architecture with different number of input neurons. No problem. Not at all a problem. But the problem is, when you're changing this number of input neurons, the weights cannot be shared. That is extremely important, because when you have 26 neurons and the next layer is maybe you have hidden layer. This is hidden layer. This is input layer. 26 neurons. Then you have connections, different set of connections, right? Then I'm saying that this 26 neurons will be connected to 52 because you are passing two inputs, two OHE. This is 52. Now again you have three neurons. Now these connections and these connections are different. Number of connections are different. Now whatever the weights that you have used here, you cannot reuse here. You cannot reuse here. And if you're not reusing, the number of weights will increase for every architecture. Every architecture you have new weights. Then gone. That means it's a trade-off. It's a trade-off. As simple as that. I cannot pass multiple inputs like this. What happens if I pass multiple inputs to a single network? The number of input neurons will change. If the number of input neurons will change, the number of weights will change. If the number of weights are changing with the different architectures, I cannot share the weights. If I'm not sharing the weights, then every weight has to be trained or retrained using back propagation. Then I have huge number of parameters, then it leads to overfitting. That means, then can I only pass? Okay, sir, since x1, x2, x3 are giving different input neurons are increasing weights, and weights cannot be shared in this case. Then I'll pass only individual letters without passing. Instead of passing B, O, I'll pass O. Then it will not give O, it will give R, maybe orange. Then also I'm wrong. I'm not able to get it correctly. So if I pass previous inputs, then a problem. If I don't pass the previous input and only pass the current letter, then also it's wrong. Then also it's problem. Then how do I solve this problem? You understood, Nana? Researchers will have this sort of deadlock situation and they come out of that deadlock situation. I'll also tell you that the solution and how do you come up with this deadlock situation, but I want you to understand the problem behind this. Okay. So we will see that in next class tomorrow, and I'll try to complete the RNN architecture for various tasks. Okay. So if you have any questions, you can just ask me. I'll stop the recording.